Did you know that Rob Zombie has never watched the new Halloween movies? Also, he remade another John Carpenter movie before Halloween. We would like to see his take on that movie, but sadly it can't make it to our screens. Now, we know you must have a lot of questions. Well, we'll be giving you all the answers. Keep watching this video to find out everything. First up, why does Rob Zombie's opinion matter? Director Rob Zombie recently revealed why he hasn't seen David Gordon Green's new Halloween trilogy. Zombie gained recognition in the music industry as a founding member of White Zombie before going solo with the release of Hellbilly Deluxe in 1998. He then turned his passion for horror into a new career as a filmmaker, making his debut in 2003 with The House of 1000 Corpses, which he also wrote. 2 years later, Zombie released a sequel called The Devil's Rejects. Following the success of his first two films, Zombie was hired to write and direct a remake of Haloween, which was released in 2007. His Halloween was a significantly darker, grittier film, with Scout Taylor Compton playing Laurie Strode, Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis, and Tyler Mane as Michael Myers, who stood at 6 foot 8 inches. Some critics and spectators disliked Zombie's take on the material, but it found an audience and was good enough to deserve a sequel. Halloween 2, Zombie's follow-up, was released in 2009 and was even less well-received than his previous entry. The sequel failed at the box office, ending Zombie's time with the franchise. Moving on, why hasn't Rob watched David Gordon's trilogy? Zombie took to Facebook to share a Halloween meme showing a man arguing the filmmaker wrecked the franchise in 2007, with the same image now indicating that he saved the franchise in 2022. The meme makes fun of David Gordon Green's Halloween Ends, with Zombie admitting that he hasn't seen any of the new movies. He says that the experience of producing his Halloween films burnt him out. Coming up, there's a petition to remake Halloween Ends and some other details. Zombie said as much on Facebook in response to fans sharing memes about the latest Halloween film with him. The memes, in particular, appear to suggest that those who dismissed his duology of Michael Myers stories will now reconsider his perspective on the series. Given the current fandom discussions and the fact that there is now a petition to remake Halloween Ends, it doesn't appear that much has changed between the two eras of slasherdom. Opinions on how Myers and even Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode were handled in the newest edition of the franchise are still flying around the internet. Even with the debate raging, Rob Zombie is correct. The internet is entertaining, and memes are savaging a topic worth laughing about. Someone will probably reboot the Halloween franchise again at some point, as even die-hard fans are expecting an announcement any day now. It remains to be seen whether David Gordon Green will watch a potential new installment. While we wouldn't blame him for missing out for the same reasons that Rob Zombie skipped the Blumhouse trilogy, perhaps enough will have passed for them both to explore Michael Myers' legacy on the big screen. Following up, why were Rob Zombie's Halloween films challenging to make? The producers were constantly interfering with Zombie's work in his two Halloween movies. Dimension Films was in charge of the reboots, with Bob and Harvey Weinstein in charge. This was before Harvey's scandalous crimes were revealed, and the Weinsteins were infamous for being extremely involved with their films, frequently interfering with their directors' plans. The Weinsteins and Zombie clashed over the film's final cut, which saw their cut released in theaters and a director's cut released later on DVD, which was significantly different. Zombie hated his experience while working on Halloween and had no plans to return for another film. But when a sequel was suggested, the Weinsteins were eager to see it through, whether the director was involved or not. Zombie hesitantly returned, feeling protective of the reboot he helped create, but the director instantly regretted his decision, claiming that his experience filming the sequel was even worse. The drawback to all of this is that it crushed Zombie's affection for a horror franchise he once cherished, which appears to have lingered with the director to this day since he has avoided watching Green's new Halloween trilogy. His reluctance and studio interference resulted in a poor final product. Given his background, it's hardly surprising that Zombie hasn't bothered to see the latest trilogy. Coming up, Rob Zombie remade another John Carpenter movie before Halloween. While Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween became relatively renowned, a little-known fact is that he remade another John Carpenter classic many years ago. With House of 1000 Corpses, his ode to 1970s horror cinema, Zombie transitioned from musician to filmmaker. The film was so controversial that it took years to be released. Zombie has proven to be a controversial filmmaker, with most of his movies receiving bad reviews, yet attracting fans for his uncompromising aesthetic. For most of the 2000s, the Halloween franchise was in a poor place, with 2002's Resurrection being a critical and financial failure. This is undoubtedly the franchise's worst sequel, and despite multiple sequel concepts, there didn't appear to be an obvious road ahead. ahead. Because redoing horror classics such as 2003's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was popular during this decade, it was decided to reboot the original Halloween film instead. Zombie was selected after the popularity of The Devil's Rejects, and he offered a completely fresh approach to the material. Not to mention, this wasn't the director's first time remaking a Carpenter project. Instead of the borderline, supernatural framing of John Carpenter's first Halloween, Zombie preferred a more grounded approach that tried to explain why Michael became a killer. Halloween grossed more than $80 million worldwide, but reviews were divided, and Zombie's changes to the series are still hotly debated among franchise enthusiasts. Zombie and Carpenter had previously collaborated, with the rocker contributing "The One" to the soundtrack of the Carpenter's Escape from LA. In a 2019 interview, Zombie also disclosed that Halloween was not his first attempt remaking a Carpenter piece, since he had done an Escape from New York riff in high school. Let's learn more about Zombie remaking Escape from New York in high school. Zombie spoke on the Joe Rogan Experience about the day he and his friends decided to develop a sequel to Escape from New York. Unfortunately, he does not provide any other information, including whether he played Snake Plissken himself. Zombie reminisced about the project simply to emphasize how strange it was that over 20 years later, he would be directing a Carpenter remake with Halloween. In some ways, Zombie would have been a better choice for a big screen remake of Escape from New York than Halloween. His grungy aesthetic and ability to craft memorable villains would have been ideal for Escape's dark future, and his take on Snake might have been an even more morally confused anti-hero. It would be intriguing to see Zombie's Escape from New York fan film resurface sometime, but even if it did exist, he definitely wouldn't want to see it now. Up next, Rob Zombie is finished with Halloween. Rob Zombie's Halloween had its critics, but many fans have come around in recent years to appreciate his series installments. The film was always a box office success, holding the Labor Day weekend opening weekend record for 14 years before being dethroned last year by the superhero flick Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. At the time, Zombie recognized the situation, expressing how proud he was to have held the record for so long. The director said in an Instagram post that it took him 14 years, but it finally happened. A kung fu master knocked Big Mike out of first place, and 14 years is a pretty long run. These days, Zombie is focusing on rebooting another iconic title. He recently released The Musters, a new film that reimagines the original sitcom's monstrous family. It's the Zombies' first PG-rated film, and it's far from the violent and vulgar stuff found in his Halloween films. Finally, why Rob Zombie's Halloween divided audiences? One of Zombie's most significant changes to the Halloween mythos was an explanation of Myers' evil. While Carpenter's film was a blank canvas of pure evilness, it was eventually retconned and explained in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Zombie humanizes the character by making him a victim of circumstance rather than innate inhumanity. Both of Zombie's Halloween flicks owe more to Halloween 2 than the original, with the plot of Laurie being Michael's sister. But aside from Michael's backstory and the addition of the sibling subplot, Halloween 07 stays pretty loyal to Carpenter while never abandoning the Rob Zombie aesthetic. The film's sequel, Halloween 2, was met with even more disdain, despite Zombie moving further away from Carpenter and into his experimental style. While so many horror remakes in the 21st century feel like a mere shadow of the original, Zombie managed to create two movies that felt fully formed, even if people disagree on whether the shape they took was good enough. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on why Rob Zombie hasn't watched the new Halloween movies? Let us know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.